Let's bring in the editor of The New Republic, Michael Tomasky. His latest piece is titled, "Finally, the Democrats have found Trump's Achilles heel. Ridicule him." In it, Michael writes in part, quote, "It's great on three levels. The first is that it must drive Trump nuts. And when he goes nuts, he says especially nutty things. Second, it's arguably more persuasive to swing voters than calling Trump a fascist. And third, and most of all, sustained ridicule has the potential to reinforce the downward spiral that Trump is in now. Ridicule makes him weaker. Ridicule makes him small. Ridicule makes him desperate." Michael, I enjoyed reading the piece, and then I went back to 2000, and I think it was 2011, and that White House Correspondents' Dinner, where Donald Trump was so roundly ridiculed by Barack Obama and by the host of the show, and guess what he did? He ended up running for president. And I'm just wondering, is there a downside to this ridicule?
There might be, but Katty, what I observed last week, and look, it's fair. Obama ridiculed Trump back then. That was a long time ago. And ever since he came down that escalator, he's been the subject of ridicule, but I think mostly from late night TV hosts, journalists, YouTubers. I thought I noticed last week something a little different. High-ranking Democrats usually spend most of their time warning people about how dangerous Trump is and how awful things will be if he gets back in the office. And there was still a fair amount of that at the convention. There's no doubt about it. But there was more ridicule than I expected to hear. Is there a downside? There may prove to be, but so far it's got him back on his heels, I think, in a pretty big way. And fear of Trump gives him power. It makes him feel powerful, I think. He loves to be feared. He hates to be ridiculed.
Michael, it's Alexi McHammond. Great piece, as Katty mentioned, too. I think a lot about in 2016, the strategy for Democrats and Hillary Clinton was sort of when they go low, we go high. I would add a fourth reason to your piece, your great piece, as to why ridiculing Trump is a good thing, is because it makes Democrats seem more normal. It makes them seem like they're talking like the average person's talking with their family or their friends at home. Could you talk more about that and Democrats sort of not necessarily going as low as Republicans, but really just being normal people who are able to call it like it is and say, guys, this is some weird stuff?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Alexi, and I think you're right. And the first thing that comes to mind when you say that, of course, is Tim Walz's comment from before he was the vice presidential nominee when he said these guys are weird. I just think with a swing voter who isn't a terribly political person, who's in one of the important states, it probably resonates a lot more with that person to talk about Trump's weird Hannibal Lecter obsession, talk about his obsession about sharks versus electrocution. Those kinds of things probably get through to that kind of voter more than talking about his authoritarian and fascistic tendencies. And in their way, they're equally disqualifying, right? Because, who wants a president who thinks Hannibal Lecter was a good guy?
So, look, I think that people have historically made a mistake in running against Trump in not fighting fire with fire. Donald Trump is a performer. Part of it is an old Southern political trick of being part entertainer. Right. And I think the idea that people were going to raise above him and not go at him, I think you got to go at the guy very directly. And I think you have to fight fire with fire. And you can't be afraid to do it. The American people love democracy. They love an election. They may say all the time, we don't like the ridicule, but they love it. They respond to it. And you've got to meet the moment of the street. This is the streets. This is the neighborhoods. This is the kitchen tables of America. And I think you cannot treat Trump as though Trump is a shucker and a bluffer and a bamboozler. He knows that selling, we call it in the neighborhood, wolf tickets, will put someone on the defensive. And I think people have to go directly back at him, fight fire with fire. I say, Donald Trump, you need a haircut and you need a better quality tanning bed.
Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, you know this history better than most, sir, coming from the state that you come from, going back to Huey Long. There are a lot of entertainers in Louisiana politics. But yeah, look, I agree, and I think it throws him off his game. And I think for Harris and Walz and other high-ranking Democrats to mock him I think that he makes him have trouble finding his footing.
He's a vain fella, you know. He's proud of himself. He's vain, and I think it's important to understand you have to meet the moment. The American people are tired of Donald Trump just getting away with the hijinks and not being forcefully challenged. And a candidacy like a Harris Walz candidacy, I think would do itself well by doing this. I think Donald Trump has every intention of debating. I think this entire conversation about him not debating is a game to try to dominate the news cycle. He's shucking, he's bluffing, he's distracting, he's doing what he does well. He's gonna debate. He doesn't really care about the rules. He's just trying to make an issue so that if he does not do well in the debate, he will claim it was rigged. He'll claim he was the victim. This is an old narrative, and people need to not fall for it over and over again.
The new piece online now for the New Republic. Editor Michael Tomasky. Thank you so much, Michael, for being with us. Check out the story. And President and CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial. Thank you as well, Mr. Mayor. Great to see you.